But like the vibe of the restaurant is what keeps me alive. You know what I mean? Like being friendly, being casual. There's always something in the restaurant going on. There's a birthday on one side. There's a kid screaming on the other side. There's a celebrity hiding at the back door over there. There's always something to do in the restaurant, and that's amazing and fascinating.
This is the Deep in the Weeds podcast. I'm Anthony Huckstep. Learning your craft on the eastern tip of Italy is a world away from a restaurant offering at a casino. So how do you transcend the context and deliver a dining experience that gives diners a real taste of Italy? Martino Pulito is the executive chef of Cucina Porto. Martino, how are you?
Good. How are you, Anthony? Thanks for having me today.
It's great to get you on the show. You're at the helm of the restaurant Cucina Porto at the Star in Sydney. How are things going?
Things going very good. Like we opened the restaurant 3 years ago. It's been an amazing experience, to be honest, because we've reached the number one casual diner restaurant in New South Wales for the past couple of years.
Wow.
In tough times, like during COVID. So like it was a massive achievement for me and for the whole team here over there. We see a little bit challenges, I'm not gonna lie it, but things are still going good.
Through the last 3 years has been sort of a real upheaval for most people on the planet. What's it been like running a restaurant during that period for you, and a new restaurant at that?
It was challenging from one point of view because, of course, you're gonna reimagine the way how you do the dishes, how you do the kitchen, how you do the menu and stuff like that. But at the same time, was a good challenge because it kept my brain moving all the times and try to jump in different products, jumping on different projects and knowing different people. And this is where I started, for example, as a chef, to using local small suppliers in New South Wales, which I didn't have time before because volume was incredible busy in my past places. So I started helping the local growers, which is great.
Oh, well, tell us about some of the ones that you got on board and how different things are. You know, what have you changed as a result of what's happened?
In terms of changing, I thought, how can my kitchen be a little bit more sustainable? So that was before the storm was coming to the global scale, you know what I mean? And this is why, for example, me being Italian and being in the same culture, I always try to be simple but sourcing the best quality that I can find out there. Since I think it's 1.5 years now, I went down for a trip down south with a couple of my teammates, and I found a small farm in Collovale, down to New South Wales. That guy is amazing. He's doing everything off the grid. He's producing mushrooms. He's doing chicken, honey. He's doing so many beautiful things, which I say, look, I'm the guy that I'm going to give you the voice because I'm in Sydney, and I can start bringing you the product over there. And I started this collaboration with this farm, and then of course he started talking with other people and the other people, and slowly I adjust my menu based on this, and now everyone is on the same path, what I can see in Sydney, which is great.
Has it changed sort of your approach and what you are cooking?
The approach, not really. It's more the approach when we go and talk to customers. Yes, the training that I do with the front of house people. That's yes, 100%. Because now what we're gonna do is we're gonna tell a story. So I'm not gonna reinvent the wheel when it comes to a dish. I'm just gonna tell a story to our customers that this product is locally grown, is seasonal, they probably love it. That's why they always come back, because they know, in fact, for example, if one day one item is 86 or we don't have it, it's because it's sourced locally. So it's not coming from any other part of the world.
Tell us a little bit about what you're doing there, what the restaurant's like, and what sort of food are you doing?
So the restaurant in Cucina Porto is an Italian restaurant, and yes, it's a casual dining, but I always like to use the premium products, premium ingredients that's out there. It's more like a vibe that we created, which it needs to be affordable for everyone and for every needs. So when we open, I had to sit down with my venue manager together to see what's going to happen. And we decided to be very limited in price when it comes to menu offering. That was a key things to go on the market. And at the same time, we want a place with a nice vibe, a nice buzz. So like the people, we also in front of the theater, the Cine Lyric Theater. So we also need to be very fast when it comes to pre-theater show or after show. And this is what like it gave me the idea to try to get all the people there. So like I don't want to limit a restaurant just for a date or for a birthday. I want everyone to come in my restaurant, and this will put a lot of pressure on myself when I build the menu. And this is what like I want to like a high quality of products. And the key is consistency. And this is why right now I'm doing birthdays, dates, proposal, business meeting, conference, celebrity that comes and want to be private and having a bespoke menu. So I literally try to cover all the people out there.
You've worked in all sorts of environments and different restaurants, which we can get into shortly. But how different is running a restaurant in something like the Star as part of the entire sort of restaurant offering?
It's got like its own challenges because Star is a big group, is a big corporation with solid policies. And I'm not gonna lie, it's tough at times, yes, but I can say that all of the experience that I had before in different restaurants give me the possibility to open my head when it comes to corporates, which that's what keeps me going all the times. But like at the same time, it's also rewarding because it's got like a big visibility out there, and there's something that, for example, like small other restaurants, they can't really afford to do it. So like it's a win-win from one point to the other.
Well, I want to explore what you are doing there in a little bit, but take us back to when you were young. Whereabouts did you grow up, and what sort of role did food play?
So like I'm from Italy, so I born and raised in Martina Franca, which is a small city in Puglia, like TripAdvisor #1 destination right now in the world. The place was like I started being chef when I was 10, like very early stages, because I always loved the food. Like food is in Italian culture, is the way how I don't know, we give love to friends or we share things with other people. Is the way how my mom and my grandma and all the people transmit by generations. So like it's in our blood. So like I remember when I was 10, my father is an hairdresser. He told me to stay with him in the shop. But after a few minutes, I got bored. So I asked him, can I go and work? Can I go and work somewhere else? You know what I mean? Like just spending time, because my father didn't want me to stay on the street and play soccer, you know what I mean? Stuff like that. And they found a bakery for me, like a bakery where I was working from 10 to probably 12, 13. So like very young age. But literally, like at that age, it's just a game. Like I remember, it was just to play with the dough, to try to cut cherry tomato, put on top, like having fun and spend a couple of hours. Like that was a different things. It started get serious when I got 13, I believe, because I started to be more ambitious when I was 13. And that's when I started moving in a different restaurant locally, like in the same town, started learning how to cook a pasta or how to make a pasta from scratch, or I don't know, how to bake a fish, like all these little pieces. And was before I actually went to culinary school.
Tell us about sort of growing up with the family. Is there any sort of dishes or feasts that you recall that you can share with us with your nonna and mother?
So many, like I'm not so many. So like I like being Italian means you are surrounded by food all the time. like like even your cupboard in the box, wherever you try to open the shoes, there's always food there. The when I was a kid, I remember like just the smell every morning when I was waking up. When I was like 5 or 6, I still remember that now, right now. The smell of the onion that was frying in the oil for my mom to make meatballs or stuff like that. And that probably, I think that's why I get into food on the first time. But one of the dish probably is mine on my grandma meatballs, which even now that I'm growing up man, I'm still overseas. Every time I go back, she always have a portion for me, ready to go in the freezer, which is a simple, basic meatball. I call it meatball, but it doesn't contain meat because my family wasn't that rich back then. So like the ingredients were just bread, white wine, olive oil, and a couple of eggs. What the land can give. This is why my grandma used to make all this every single day, and it was giving us when we were finished school. So like sometimes they used to give us the little box to take it to school. So like instead of in Australia, kids got a little sandwich. I used to bring pasta with meatballs to school. Different childhood, yeah. And then also, like I remember one of the dish, which is orecchiette. I don't know if you heard, like the ear shape kind of pasta, which my grandma was always making it, and she believes that if she will put the pasta on the bed, the pasta will taste better. And this is why when she actually was making the pasta in the kitchen, then she was resting the pasta layer on the bed. And my grandpa was so upset because he wanted to do a nap. Like nap is essential in Italy. He could not do it because they actually was was passed on the bed.
That's amazing. Tell us a little bit about the food of the region that you grow up in. Is there sort of ingredients and dishes that sort of exemplify that region that you could share?
The region is is a like Martina is a city which is in the middle of the Puglia. So like it's in the land, but at the same time we got a lot of seafood culture there. So like being in the Mediterranean, being in Italy, we got access to, I would say, probably the best produce out there. Like when it comes to tomato, almonds, olives, especially olives with olive oil. Like my family own a farm of more than 300 olives tree. Sorry, that is something that it stays in every single dish. Uh, Grapes, for example. So like the grapes goes into desserts and they start making wines. There's so many. But also being very close to like my city is very close to the Ionic Sea and to the Adriatic Sea on the other side. It give us two different kind of seafood. Like we go like the warmer water on one side, a little bit more cooler water on the other one. Which, for example, when I was a kid, I remember like to go on one side if there was wind. So like the water was a little bit flat, so my family easy can catch some octopus on the rocks. Or opposite, like if the wind was blowing from the other side, we just going to the Ionic Sea, to the other side, where it's placed more for prawns and mussels and stuff like that. So I had a different childhood. So like immersive in the food.
Yeah. Tell us about the first couple of years working in the industry. Where were the sort of really important venues and people that you worked with?
So like when I was down in Puglia, I work in a lot of places. Like I was jumping every 3 months, if I have to be honest, because I was very angry about passionate about the food. So like as soon as I was a little bit comfortable with the place, that was time for me to move on. This is why like I changed almost every single restaurant in my own town. That was during my culinary school. So when I was 14, 15. And I also see that when I was going to school, the culinary school, me and a couple of my friends, we were already more advanced in terms of skills compared to the other students. And we ask the teachers actually to if we can buy ourselves some product and experiment in something different at school, like using our own money because schools go limited budget and stuff like that. And the teacher agreed even more, and he opened us the door to other restaurants in different cities. My school was also 45 kilometers away from home. So, like when I was 14, I was catching the trains and going back and forth. I mean, just to get this passion going. You know what I mean? But this opened me and a couple of other my friends the door to work in different restaurants, which lead me to Milan, where that is probably my most memorable stories of my culinary journey, because Milan was very hard and tough for me.
Well, to take us to Milan, there's been some amazing restaurants of influence from there, and it's a destination for many people around the world. Take us into the kitchens there. What did you learn and what was it like?
Yeah, so when I went to Milan, first of all, I work in a small restaurant in Brianza, it's called. So, like, it's a rich region on top of Milan. So, like, it's more like a countryside. This place was a 2 Michelin star, and was only for we were only 4 or 5 chefs inside. So, like, it's not like the Michelin star that you see now with 20, 25 chefs. We were only 3 or 4. And I remember I used to work endless hours, like from 8 in the morning to probably like midnight or 1 o'clock in the morning. That place was good because I learned like how to be in a different kitchen, like the discipline and the formations, the respect with other people, because this is what I didn't experience when I was back in the south of Italy. And that led me to move to actual Milan, where I found what it was at the time a catering with the most valuable customers probably worldwide. So it was one of the best catering in Europe at the time. Because just to name a few customers, we had Gucci, Prada, we had Versace, we had prime ministers. We used to serve the G8, the convention, the secret conventions that all the politicians used to do. We used to have Monza, like the Grand Prix, the Formula One. So, like, we used to follow these people around, like Italy, Spain, and also France sometimes. So that time was very different for me, but I enjoy every single minute of Milan.
What lured you to Australia?
Escape from Milan. Escape from Milan. Because working for, like, I work, like, the guy that was my executive chef back in Milan, because I worked there for like 6, 7 years, I believe. He used to be like a 3 Michelin star. He's a chef that is my mentor, which still now I don't remember having a social media. I don't remember having a Facebook or anything. So, like, he's still right now like off the grid. But back in Italy, everyone knows him because he creates the most Michelin star chef right now on the market in Italy. And I work alongside for him for 7 years. And it was brutal with me. I'm not going to lie, it was brutal. Because he actually saw in me like someone with potential, as someone that really want to do the job. And what he did is, I don't know, I remember I was scared about lobsters. So he tied me up and he put a lobster on my face. And I fainted, for example, just to like, don't be scared anymore. Or I remember one time I want to touch the salmon because it was slimy and stuff like that. And he took that was old days, so now you can't do these things now anymore. But, like, he took the skin of the salmon and he wrapped all around my face. But that was part of my drawing, my learning, which was great. He also introduced me to a different food variety, which I wasn't aware of, like especially like foie gras, caviar. One day I remember the Putin was in town, and like Putin, the prime minister, and we had to do like an event for him, and he wanted to get fresh caviar, but fresh caviar doesn't mean the things. He wants us to order the fish, deliver in Italy, and milk it straight in front of the people. Something crazy. So that little things is what I experienced back over there.
What was it like when you landed in Australia? Were you surprised by it?
Like when I land over here, I came to escape first of all like the long hours because I was working 20 hours a day, and at the same time it's not really being recognized. So when I land over here, I saw a lot of different places I didn't recognize as a restaurant, if I have to be honest, because I saw them like with a different layout. Like I saw that here no one used to have a tablecloth like around, for example, or like towels, or there was no very much music on the outside, or like the people waiting at the door. I'm talking about like 12, 13 years ago when I arrived. So it was very hard for me to actually understand what was a cafe or was a restaurant. That was back then. When I started working inside, I saw there was a very mixture of cuisine incorporated in one. So even if they say, okay, it's Italian or it's Asians or it's Mediterranean, there's still a little bit of product use from other countries. So it's not like 100% authentic, which it gives me more approach to different ingredients, which I actually never been across when I was in Europe. Or like try to use, for example, yuzu instead of the lemon to use some different dishes. That was an example, and that creates like a little bit more interest for me. The hours here were and the value of the chefs in Australia was more rewarding, and people recognized the job more when I came. But at the same time, I came before the European storm. So, like, I was one of the flagship, probably, of the Italians back in 2012. And it was challenge back then to get the visa to stay, all the sponsorship and stuff like that. And this is why I chose to work for Jamie Oliver with under a lot of pressure from an international brand, an international chef with a lot of face out there. But that was the key that I believe to stay in this country because I really love this country.
How different was Jamie's Italian compared to what you knew of Italian?
Look, the honestly was 60%, 70% different. But like I wasn't the Italian. They always say, "Oh, this is not authentic. I'm not gonna eat it." You know what I mean? This is not done like properly. I'm not gonna eat it. I try to go deep and understand why Jamie's Italian was doing this kind of dishes, and I understand the response of the customers, which we had a crowd of like 1,000 people a day, and that made me realize that at the end of the story, if the chef is good, but you got no customers coming inside the restaurant, you're no one. Like, and that make me understand that the real important people are the customers, first of all. So they are the people they come into the restaurants, so they're gonna eat, buy your food, pay the bills at the end of the story. At the same time, motivate the team, creating something different. Jamie's Italian was a very good platform for me to understand this.
That's amazing. You've been head chef of many venues in Sydney. Tell us about some of the venues and the more important sort of steps that you've taken since you've been in Australia.
So, like Jamie Oliver was one of the venue where I wasn't head chef, but I believe I was working as a head chef because we were jumping head chef every couple of months because it was a tough restaurant. So, like I was a sous chef over there with another one, and with not having like a leader presence all the time, we had to learn management the way how the restaurant was working ourselves. So that was one of the first challenge. At the same time, it gave me the ability to know a lot of suppliers here. I start creating a lot of relationship with the fish guy, with the meat guy, or with the vegetable people, like the key important people for my job. And then when I left Jamie Oliver, I want to experience a different kind of restaurant, which was an organic restaurant. It's called Pasta Miglia, a small Italian restaurant in Surrey Hills, which was everything organic. So like for me, it was a challenge not to learn the skills or to learn how to cook it, but more the way how they were sourcing the product. Because for that restaurant, it's very important to source organically certify a biodynamic product to have the logo on the door. So for me, it was a challenge because I had to know, I had to restart all over again, starting where he used to buy the meat, or where he used to buy the cheese, or all this kind of stuff. So it was a challenge for me. And then when everything settled again, like me, I'm an ambition person, I decided to join Sean Connolly, like everyone knows Sean Connolly in Sydney. And that was tough because for the first 6 months, I remember he didn't even talk to me. Like he was, I think I had a good relationship with Sean because he treated me same way how my chef in Italy treat me in the past. So like a very old school chef, down to earth, down to ground, where he doesn't have to muck around. Like the things are done like his way, and that's it. And for the first 6 months, Sean never say my name. He never called me. Then when he saw that I believed in him and in his brand and what he was doing, then he changed. He opened all his door. I was loyal to him.
The Morrison's a huge venue. Do you have any stories of what that was like and what you were doing there?
Well, so when I was at the Morrison, a lot of people thought it was a pub, but it wasn't real. It wasn't real a pub. It was a historic place, building. I don't know, like in the end of 900. I don't know when it was built, but like it was like an institutions back in, like it's still an institution right now. So like being the head chef, a leader, representing Sean was a big responsibility for me. So like I had to work a lot with what Sean wants in terms of like his vision. At the same time being in the financial business, which is a different story. So like I had to really work on how to make Sean's dishes a reality back to the market. And we worked together to create dishes and to do along creating different promotions and be always on point. And I remember the most successful things that I did at the Morrison with Sean was the oyster hour, which the Morrison is famous for. We were selling like, I don't know, I can't remember now, but it was crazy numbers, like 400, 500 dozen oysters in an hour. That was crazy. And then we used to do the crab festival, which was something that Sean was very proud of. We used to do a lot of stuff, you know what I mean? But like at the same time, over there, we were trying to capturing people that just want to go at the pub for a beer. I just have a beer and a burger. But at the same time, having a nice lunch or dinner with some premium food. So that was the whole place of the Morrison. So it was very challenging, with a kitchen very, very tiny.
You grew up with an incredible array of seafood, but the Australian seafood is a little bit different. How different has that been, that journey into the seafood in Australia, compared to what you grew up with?
I will say the seafood in Australia is not bad. Like it's very good. It's there's some fish that is probably like the knowledge of the fish that is missing over here compared to Europe. Because anyway, Australia is a very young country. And the thing is, it's also populated by people coming from different part of the world. So, like for example, like if I'm Italian, I like mussels. I always gonna eat mussels. I'm not gonna try a bologna because it's not in my culture. So, like my job as a chef is try to mix all this food and put in my menus so that people can actually try it from different cultures. But the food himself, like the seafood, it's very nice. The skills, the technique, the farmers, the fishermen, the way how they grow things is very remarkable. I mean, when people start knowing the story, for example, like I can say that the oysters here in Australia, they're way more better, from my point of view, from the one that you can find in France. Like the taste is completely better, the size and everything. But also like the fish itself, like in Europe, we go a smaller fish because the sea doesn't give the opportunity for the fish to grow like the fish that you find here in the oceans. But like stuff like kingfish or prawns or lobster, they're definitely like top notch on the world, 100%.
How did the opportunity at Cucina Porto come about?
That was when I always worked for celebrities in the past. I always been the man behind I don't know, like the spotlights. and I liked it for a while. Like for example, even with Sean, Sean was doing a lot of things for himself, and I was always back there working 20 hours a day to make sure his dream was going alive. Until I reach a point, like I think I reach a maturity for myself, where I speak with Sean. I say, Chef, I love you, I love the place, I love everything. Like it's not like I just want to start building the name for myself. Like I don't want to be known like the person that's always behind someone. And this is when I approach the star, Sydney, and Cucina Porto Borns, literally.
Tell us a little bit about your food. Is there a dish or two you can take us through that kind of exemplifies your cooking?
Yeah, so like a couple of dishes. So like every time I do a menu, I always go deep in a story, what I want to give a message to our customers, which it comes from my childhood or from my trips. One of the dish, for example, that right now is very, very famous in my restaurant is the prawns with an Aperol Spritz Barra. Because at the end, what I want to give to my customers is the best prawns, which I love, and Aperol Spritz, which is my favorite cocktail, like aperitif. So I say, oh, can I combine these two together? You know what I mean? Let's try the people. And that's why I create this dish. And when I start telling the story to the customers, everyone loved the story. And then they try the dish. And the dish actually is amazing. These are perfect combinations. And that's a win-win. And everything that I do is always that one. It's always got a little story behind. Even if I do like a little, I don't know, gnocchi with I don't know, like sauce or anything. Like he's always got like a little background there, which it needs to create a story. Now I'm trying also to motivate my team to because I want to inspire them to get themselves in the dish. Because as I say, like when I do Italians cooking, I don't really create crazy things because what I found out a lot of people get scared of the unknown. Instead, I try to tell my staff to put their own life in the dish. So put their own childhood, put their own experience in the dish that they're gonna make it. So like at the end of the story is also them. So it gives them a little bit of reward. And this is when they start creating a little bit specials. For example, for the restaurants, which it's always great because at the end we always buy a good food, but like if there's a story behind, there's a whole experience there.
Are there any dishes that are inspired or a replication of the food from your family or childhood memories?
I will say maybe 50% of the menu. Yes, 50%. Because at the end of the story, like even every single pasta, like if I put the linguine, for example, with the seafood, that's a dish that, for example, I was having every Sunday. Or in the past, in the previous menu, I used to have orecchiette with cime di rapa, which is like the top of the broccolini. But that dish is a very classic dish. So I took that dish and I want to make more interesting because at the end it's just a pasta with broccolini. So like I start experimenting using different alcohol inside content like aperitif and stuff like that. Or then modify a little bit the sauce to recreate the same flavor profile, maintaining like the authenticity of the food itself. And at the same time being like how can I say it, like vegetarian, vegan, with the possibility to not having nuts. So like a dish that can be suitable for everyone, literally. Because what I found in Sydney is also like a lot of restaurants do the dish and they can be modified because they're made in pre-batches where, for example, my is cooking everything fresh to order. So like if a person go, I don't know, like a chili allergy or a garlic allergy or stuff like that, but I really want that dish, I will be able to make it because everything is made fresh on the spot. And that's one of the key when I build a menu. So as I said, linguine is probably like one of my favorite. Then I got the ragu on the menu, which if I try to take it off the menu, people will following me around Sydney just to put it back because everyone love it. Of course, I got the crown veal on the menu, which is what the people call schnitzel, but like it's done in the proper way, nice in the pan with a clarified butter, stuff like that. That's so many. Like,
Well, you've built an amazing restaurant there at Cucina Porto. What do you love about what you do?
I love the energy. I love the challenge that every day is going to be a new day. I love seeing customers, the same customers coming through the door every day, every couple of days. And that's probably the most rewarding things. I saw people recognizing the job as a team, not as an individual. And I see the challenge because at the end, working, we still do 200-300 people in an hour. So it's still a challenge nowadays. I also I'm proud that I built a team very young because I'm always supporter of the young generations. Where I will say that like 75-80% of my kitchen team is female also, which is a great achievement for me. Yeah. It is hard sometimes because putting all female at the same time, sometimes it can be very hard. But they go something else. I'm very proud of what the team is doing. And this is why the Cucina Porto, in terms of restaurant, is always up there. But the vibe of the restaurant is what keeps me alive. You know what I mean? Being friendly, being casual. There's always something in the restaurant going on. There's a birthday on one side. There's a kid screaming on the other side. There's a celebrity hiding at the back door over there. Or there's a CEO coming from, I don't know, any part of the world that he doesn't want to be seen. There's always something to do in the restaurant. And that's amazing and fascinating.
Well, it sounds amazing and fascinating just hearing about it. It's been an honour to have you on Deep in the Weeds today, Martino, to hear just a part of your story. Please keep in touch and we'll catch up again soon.
Thank you, Anthony.
This is the Deep in the Weeds podcast. I'm Anthony Huckstep. Stay tuned as we take a deep dive into the lives of the incredible people who ply their trade in the food and hospitality sector. Special thanks to executive producer Rob Locke for making this all happen. Follow us on Instagram at Deep in the Weeds Podcast or email us at podcast@deepintheweeds.com.au. Stay safe and be well.